Hi all. With the London Classic approaching next month, which if you're a FIDE rated player or want to get a FIDE rating, the FIDE Open is excellent. You can watch the superstars in the Super Elite GM tournament, like Carlson, Kramnik, British superstars, Adams, Short and others. And you can also, play in the FIDE Open, so you can get, and also there's Blitz evening. So if you're not already entered in the London Classic and you want to play in a chess tournament this year, it's great. I really enjoyed it last year. Now, before, years ago, back in the 90s, there was the Lloyds Masters, which I really enjoyed and played in each year. So the London Classic is like another, new yearly opportunity for at least one FIDE tournament. Now, back in the Lloyds I did video annotate my encounter with GM Adams and also another game, Marusenko, and I put them on my that games page for Instructive Games, which I'll give a link in the description of this video. But there was one interesting game against Marusenko, a very tactical game. I was completely oblivious to the idea, strategic ideas that I am like now. So maybe I'm more strategically refined now, but this is very dynamic nevertheless. I'm surprised how dynamically the game was played. So I was playing Sveshnikov a lot. It was my favourite opening at the time. And of course it gives a gaping hole on d5, and eventually I got bored of white players having this massive knight on d5, and I gave up the line. But in here you can see the bishops and the rooks have great dynamism. So this rook on the f file, and this one on the b file later, and black does get the bishop pair in what we're about to see. Okay, so let's think about dynamism and acknowledge, okay, back in 93 I was just completely, I didn't think about strategic crush as a concept much. So d5 is obviously a big problem for black. So by taking on f6, okay, white's giving up the bishop pair, establishing a big knight already, getting the other knight to reroute to d5. So the scene is set for domination on the light squares, and he's a higher rated FIDE rated player as well at the time. Petr Marusenko, I don't know if he's an IM now, maybe he is, but he's 2370 here, and I was 2190. So I was just brimming below the 2200s, but I did get above 2200 on a few lists, which means that I should be a candidate Masters now, which I've applied for. But anyway, so knight c2. And I play f5. It might have been this tournament actually, which put me above 2200. I had a very good tournament, I think, in 93. So f5. So I'm playing to try and battle that d5 square, but it's a bit useless at the moment because after bishop e6, he just simply plays g3. So with g3, he's going to put another piece, eyeing this d5. So this is really like playing. Someone who really is aware of strategy and strategic crush and big knights and powerful outposts and exchanging off the right bishop and all that sort of thing. But I'm just trying to play dynamically, and I'm totally naive here as well, because after his bishop g2 he's actually not caring about f4, because he sees that as just temporary, that if ever fg, I'm releasing control of the e4 square. But I play f4 because I'm much younger and I'm just trying to attack his king maybe. But if he has control of e4 or d5, I'm strategically dead. And this is actually what happens after f4 knight c2. This is already a very painful position. White's not obliged to castle. White can carry on with bishop e4, blockading this e5 pawn, and then coming maybe queen h5 later, and maybe even castling queenside. So he can keep a grip on both these squares, and I'll be dead, strategically dead. Okay, but after rook a7, surprisingly, he gives me a chance. He plays actually a4 first. Okay, so he's breaking up my structure. He's making my pawn structure a lot worse. And now he plays queen d3, but now I seize my chance, because really bishop e4, and I can't technically, legally play e4, but queen d3, I can, and I get this e5 square for a knight, and this actually generates quite a lot of tactical opportunities now. So he goes a pawn up, and I play knight e5, so offering him also the h7 pawn. So maybe I surprised him, I shocked him. So he can't maybe, take that. He's going to get in trouble if he takes on h7 with the king in the centre, I expect. Let's just assume, white's in trouble if he takes on h7. It looks a bit silly. So queen d2, and now bishop f5. So I'm contesting the game dynamically. So it shows you can be completely oblivious to positional play and considerations and strategic clashes and still sort of be a positional player if you can generate enough just pure dynamic compensation. You know, active rooks, try and activate your bishops and try and get a good knight. So, you know, just sacrifice lots of material to generate, you know, compensation, dynamic compensation. So Queen E2. And actually, when we look at some more games of Lasker, we're going to see that, you know, pawn sacrifices for dynamic compensation. But obviously, he's much more strategic as well. So he was a totally well-rounded player. But it was definitely choosing more consciously this idea of generating compensation or playing strategy than this game. This was just, I was just desperate for some play now, and I even give him the H file to try and open up the F file. So this is a downside, but the H file, but the upside, this F file pressure now lets me throw in a check. So I was excited, his king's not casting, but potentially he's still got a lot of trump cards. But you can see the black position is not without resources here, but I've got an immediate problem about H7. But I defend an attack with knight G5, attacking the queen, protecting against queen E6s as well. And this rook now, it's got potential as well to come in, maybe by F7. So he plays queen E3, in fact hitting the rook, so I have to move it anyway. I move it actually to B7. So you see, both the rooks are blasting down. And, would you say I've got away with murder? Well, I did, because he didn't play bishop E4 when he could have. He gave me the opportunity to get some piece play. There's no point having a visually strategic, crush position if the opponent has got pawn breaks or pawn sacks to then have vicious rooks. This is not something you want to deal with, especially in an over-the-board game, where you're going to be running out of time and under severe pressure. Anyway, he plays knight CB4, so he's trying to soak up the B file pressure. But now I'm putting pressure on both knights, so they're under fire here. This B knight and this F knight. The rooks are doing a good job. The bishop's just waiting there. It's biting on a bit of granite at the moment. But what can the knight do? What can the queen do? Okay, after F4. I don't passively retreat, actually. I noticed there's a bit of a tactical vulnerability on this diagonal, so I play quite a funny move. But with the king in the centre, I'm already kind of, stimulated. I'm sort of awake. I think that's a natural kind of caffeine. With, you think, there should be lots of opportunities. You're made a bit more optimistic by the king. It's not like castled naturally. So I don't know if you can spot my next move. It is quite amusing, actually. I'll give you 10 seconds, starting from now. Okay, queen A8. So I'm threatening actually rook takes B4 and a disaster on this diagonal. So he just casually moves his rook. Okay. Do I move my knight again? Remember, I'm protecting the E6 square, so I'm a bit loath to do that. So actually, I play A5. So I'm still trying to, get the queen, attacking, undermining D5. There's still a positional fight going on, but it was for tactical reasons, this positional fight, that I'm actually trying to put pressure on D5. But that's what counts in this position now. He does queen D3, and I move the rook. Okay, so I've still got this threat now of AB, so I don't mind about G5 dropping off. But actually, he plays rook takes A4. So we've got a terrific, clash here. The experienced, higher rated player playing positionally, and I was relatively much younger in '93, and I was just trying to play dynamically, get the pieces going. So Queen A7. Okay, so there's an immediate threat of Queen G1 check. So he moves the rook. Okay, is he out of the woods? Knight H3. I'm stumbling on rather randomly. This is like random chess now, and it looks as though maybe he's consolidating his position now because he's got a good grip on the centre. So he plays actually king C2. So that pawn's now obviously is pinned at the moment to the queen. So what's going to happen with A5 as a threat? Is he going to just secure D5 and then that's it? But queen C5, so I'm protecting that pawn still. I'm now attacking the knight. If the knight moves again, rook D5. So I've still got that fight now here. But I've invited knight E6 check, winning the exchange. That's the only slight snag with queen C5. It's not bad otherwise. Okay, so he wins the exchange. Knight E7 check, forking king and rook. Okay, so I take, he takes, and now I take the knight. So actually, Okay, I've lost the exchange, but I've gained another knight, so that was a good transaction in theory. Okay, but he's getting a lot of pawns. Rook takes b4. So how many pawns has he got? I've only got 2 left, and he's got 4. So he's 2 pawns up. And this knight's not particularly great at the moment, but it's coming to the centre now via f2. And now there's this rook f8. Okay, so I'm defending my back row against rook, rook b8 or queen a8. But this is still a very precarious position. Can I get coordination going here? Sorry, it's just catching thing. Rook b7. So he's doubled up rooks now. And okay, I played bishop f6. So he takes on h7. And now, I think he's in time trouble. Queen f5 check. Now playing knight e4, and the knight's actually threatening to fork his queen and king. Okay, he's in trouble now. King a2. I've got a lot of compensation going. Check. King a1, and now queen a5 check. It's vicious because his king, he resigned here. If his king moves to b1, then I got knight d2. So it was just, I created chaos in the positions here. If we step back a little bit, but let's go through the game again. So strategically, I was just totally oblivious to strategic chess. Really, I was playing this Sveshnikov variation. I think just really to get the dynamic compensation anyway. I was aware it was like for the 2 bishops and try and get some pressure going, but I think there were some problems with e4 anyway as well. F4 squared, so that would allow knight f4. So this isn't an easy position by any means, but f4 loses strategically just in another way. So just that e4 square, but he didn't play bishop e4. This is the thing. This is the kind of move that knocked out Kasparov when he was playing against the computer. The computer played this bishop e4 type move and just shut down Kasparov's counterplay. But it wasn't played here, and my counterplay, just at the expense of 1 pawn. It's good to get a bit of liberation, as we see again and again. And it doesn't matter about this pawn. It's just, I think tactically it's going to be okay. Maybe someone can engine check that. But queen e2. So I take on e4, take on g3. So I'm risking a lot of my king safety as well for this dynamism. It isn't just the d5 control. My pieces are a bit loose as well. But the interesting thing about this game from here is this queen a8, this contesting of d5 and trying to constantly create tactical opportunities. Okay, so maybe he did give me a break actually. When I played queen c5, well, he can't move the knight anyway. So I guess actually, objectively, he has to play knight e7. There's no other way to carry on the position because I've undermined d5. So maybe he has let me into the game here, unless there's something magical for him to play here. So knight e7 check. So he has to give up the 2 knights. But my pieces, they're scattered here, and he has got 2 pawns. And my back row is a bit weak, and this, 2 rooks on the 7th also seems very, very dangerous. It just seems the knight and queen now in this final phase of the game. I'm threatening not only knight d2, actually knight c5. So really, I have come back, I suppose, in the game already in this position. This is it, and now he's just losing tactically. So here, if b3, then knight takes c3 check. So it's got all of a sudden quite vicious finally for the white king. So I hope you enjoyed that, and it just shows, even if you haven't got a clue about positional play, you can sometimes play dynamic, openings like the Sicilian Sveshnikov, and not worry too much about huge knights, huge holes, and just the potentially not having any counterplay at all. As long as you can, use the opportunity, the 1 or 2 opportunities you get to open up some lines and trying to get some blasting rooks, trying to get some piece play. I think that's the lesson to be learned. Please let me know if this game was useful to you. Thanks very much.